The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the river path as Lily Chen walked her border collie, Scout. The autumn air felt crisp against her cheeks, carrying the scent of fallen leaves and distant wood smoke. At 17, Lily treasured these peaceful walks after school, a chance to clear her head and dream about her future. Scout trotted happily beside her, occasionally stopping to investigate interesting smells along the familiar trail. Lily smiled at her faithful companion. She had rescued Scout from the local shelter 3 years ago, a skinny, trembling pup that grew into her best friend. That rescue had sparked something in Lily, a determination to someday become a veterinarian. "Just 2 more years, Scout," she said, watching the dog's ears perk up at the sound of her voice. "Graduate high school, 4 years of college, then vet school. We've got this." Her parents supported her dream but couldn't hide their worry about the cost. Their small farm provided enough but not much extra, and vet school wasn't cheap. Still, Lily had good grades and determination. She'd find a way. The river flowed steadily beside them, swollen from recent rains. Normally, Lily would have turned back by now. Her mom expected her home to help with dinner. But something made her walk a little farther today. Scout suddenly stiffened, ears alert. "What is it, boy?" Lily asked, just as the sound reached her own ears. The screech of tires followed by a sickening crunch and splash. Through the trees, about 50 yards ahead, Lily spotted something that made her heart jump. A pickup truck careening off the road, crashing through the guardrail and plunging into the river. Without thinking, she sprinted forward, Scout racing alongside her. "Stay," she commanded, quickly tying Scout's leash to a tree. The dog whined but obeyed as Lily scrambled down the embankment toward the sinking vehicle. The truck was already half submerged, its nose pointing downward into the murky water. Inside, Lily could make out a figure, a man in what looked like a cowboy hat struggling with something. The current was pushing the truck further from shore with each passing second. Lily kicked off her sneakers and shed her jacket. The swimming lessons her parents had insisted on since she was 5 flooded back to her. Strong swimmer or not, the river's current was dangerous, especially after the recent rains. But there wasn't time to hesitate. The shock of the cold water stole her breath as she plunged in. The current immediately tugged at her, but Lily was prepared, angling her body to cut through the water toward the sinking truck. Her muscles burned with effort as she fought against the pull of the river. Reaching the truck, she found the driver's side window partially open. The water was already up to the man's chest inside the cab. He was older, maybe in his 50s, with weathered skin and gray sprinkled through his dark hair. A gash on his forehead dripped blood and his eyes looked unfocused. "Sir, can you hear me?" Lily shouted, clinging to the door frame to keep from being swept away. The man turned toward her voice, blinking slowly. "Seatbelt, stuck," he managed to say, his voice carrying a slight drawl. Lily could see the problem. The mechanism had jammed, trapping him in the rapidly filling cab. She remembered the small pocket knife her grandfather had given her for her birthday last year. She always carried it, despite her friends teasing her about it. Now she thanked her practical grandfather as she pulled it from her jeans pocket. "Hold on," she told the man, maneuvering her small frame through the window opening. The water was frighteningly cold, making her fingers clumsy as she opened the knife. The truck shifted, sinking deeper, and water rushed in faster. "Easy now," the man said, surprisingly calm despite their dire situation. "You're a brave little lady." Lily didn't feel brave. She felt terrified. But there wasn't time for fear. She sawed at the seatbelt, the tough material resisting her efforts. The water had reached their shoulders now. "What's your name?" the man asked, his voice strained but steady. "Lily," she answered, still working on the belt. "I'm Jack," he replied. "Sorry to meet you like this." Despite everything, Lily almost laughed at his politeness. The seatbelt finally gave way under, her knife fraying and then snapping apart. Jack tried to move but winced in pain. "My leg, think it's broken," he said. The truck lurched again, water now nearly to their chins. "We need to go now," Lily urged, helping Jack shift toward the window. He was much larger than her, but the water made him somewhat buoyant. With one final effort, Lily helped push Jack through the window. She followed quickly just as the truck slipped deeper into the river. The current immediately caught them, spinning them away from the vehicle. Lily grabbed Jack's jacket, keeping his head above water as she used her free arm to swim. On shore, Scout barked frantically, drawing attention to the emergency. Lily could see people gathering, someone pointing, and yelling. She focused on swimming, one stroke at a time, fighting the current that wanted to drag them downstream. Jack tried to help, but his injured leg made his movements awkward. "You're doing great, Lily," he encouraged through chattering teeth. "Just a bit more." Her muscles screamed in protest, but Lily kept going. The distance to shore seemed impossible at first. Then slowly, agonizingly, they drew closer. Just as her strength began to fail, Lily felt her feet touch bottom. Several people waded in, helping pull them the rest of the way. Hands reached for them, wrapping them in jackets and blankets. Someone had called 911, and in the distance Lily could hear sirens approaching. She sat shivering on the riverbank, watching as people tended to Jack. His cowboy hat was gone, lost to the river, and his weathered face looked pale. As paramedics arrived and began checking him over, Jack caught Lily's eye. "Thank you," he mouthed silently before they loaded him onto a stretcher. Only then did the reality of what happened hit her. Lily started shaking, not just from the cold but from delayed shock. Scout had somehow gotten free and bounded over, pressing against her side as if sensing her distress. "You're a hero," someone told her, but Lily shook her head. "I just did what anyone would do," she replied, though she knew that wasn't exactly true. Not everyone would have jumped into a dangerous river to save a stranger. As the ambulance drove, away with Jack inside, Lily wondered if she would ever see the cowboy again. She had no idea who he really was or that their paths would cross again in a way that would change both their lives forever. For now, though, she just wanted to go home, take a hot shower, and hug her parents. Tomorrow would be soon enough to think about the mysterious cowboy whose life she had saved. Little did Lily know that as Jack drifted in and out of consciousness in the ambulance, he was already making plans that would transform her future in ways she couldn't imagine. The next morning, Lily woke up sore all over. Her muscles ached from fighting the river current, and a few scratches on her arms stung under the bandages her mother had carefully applied. Despite the discomfort, she got ready for school. Her parents had suggested she stay home, but Lily didn't want to fall behind in her classes, especially with college applications looming. "Are you sure you're feeling okay?" her mother asked, setting down a plate of scrambled eggs. Dark circles under her eyes revealed she hadn't slept much, probably checking on Lily throughout the night. "I'm fine, Mom, really," Lily assured her, though her shoulders protested as she reached for the orange juice. "Just a bit sore." Her father lowered his newspaper, his weathered face serious. "What you did was incredibly brave, Lily. Also incredibly dangerous." His voice softened. "We're proud of you, but please don't scare us like that again." Lily nodded, understanding their worry. The local news had already called twice, wanting an interview with the teen hero, but she'd declined. She didn't want attention. She just hoped the cowboy Jack was okay. At school, word had spread quickly. Classmates stared and whispered as Lily walked down the hallway. Her best friend Zoe hurried over, eyes wide with excitement. "Everyone's talking about what you did. There's even a video online that someone took after you got to shore," Zoe said, showing Lily her phone. The blurry footage showed paramedics working on Jack while a soaking wet Lily sat wrapped in a blanket nearby. "I just did what needed doing," Lily replied, uncomfortable with the attention. "Have you heard anything about how he's doing? The man in the truck?" Zoe shook her head. "Nothing specific. Mrs. Harris mentioned he was taken to Memorial Hospital, downtown." Throughout the day, teachers and students alike treated Lily differently, with a mix of awe and curiosity that made her uncomfortable. By lunchtime, she'd answered the same questions dozens of times. Yes, she was scared. No, she didn't think about the danger. Yes, the water was freezing. No, she didn't know the man. After school, instead of heading straight home, Lily made her way to Memorial Hospital. Scout wasn't with her this time, but she almost wished for his comforting presence as she approached the information desk. "I'm looking for a patient who was brought in yesterday," she told the receptionist. An older man, accident victim, truck went into the river. His name is Jack. Actually, I don't know his last name. The receptionist typed on her computer. Are you family? No, I was there when it happened. Lily hesitated. I helped get him out of the truck. Recognition dawned on the woman's face. Oh, you're the young lady from the news. She smiled warmly. Let me check for you. After a moment, she looked up. I'm sorry we had a patient matching that description, but he was transferred to River Valley Medical Center early this morning. That's the trauma center about 30 miles from here. Lily's heart sank. She didn't have a way to get that far. Her family's old pickup was needed at the farm, and she didn't even have her full license yet, just a learner's permit. Is he okay? She asked. I can't share medical information, but he was stable enough for transfer, which is a good sign, the receptionist said kindly. If you'd like to leave your name, I can make a note in his file that you asked about him. Lily scribbled her name and phone number on a slip of paper. Walking home, she felt strangely disappointed. She didn't even know Jack, not really, but she felt connected to him somehow. Jumping into that river had been the most terrifying and important thing she'd ever done. The next few days passed in a blur. The local newspaper ran a story about the rescue, complete with a photo of Lily that her high school had provided from last year's yearbook. Her parents fielded calls from relatives and neighbors, all wanting to congratulate the hero in their midst. By Friday, the excitement had mostly died down. Life was returning to normal: school, homework, her weekend job at the local animal shelter. Lily was cleaning out dog kennels when her supervisor, Mrs. Wilson, called her to the front desk. There's someone here to see you, she said with an odd smile. Puzzled, Lily walked to the reception area, still wearing rubber gloves and an apron covered in dog hair. Standing there, leaning on a cane, was Jack. He looked different, cleaner, his hair trimmed, the gash on his forehead now neatly stitched. He wore pressed jeans and a button-up shirt instead of the muddy clothes he'd had on during the accident. Hello, Lily, he said, his voice stronger than she remembered. A genuine smile creased his weathered face. I hope you don't mind me tracking you down. Took some doing. You're okay, Lily blurted out, then blushed at her outburst. I mean, I'm glad to see you up and about. I tried to visit at Memorial, but they said you'd been transferred. Jack nodded. Broken leg, 2 cracked ribs, mild concussion. He tapped his cane against his leg, which Lily now noticed was in a walking cast. Nothing that won't heal, thanks to you. Mrs. Wilson was watching them with undisguised curiosity. Why don't you two use my office to talk? She suggested. Lily, take your break now. In the small office, surrounded by pet adoption posters and filing cabinets, Lily felt suddenly shy. How did you find me? Nurse at Memorial passed along your name. From there, wasn't hard to ask around town. Small place like this, everyone knows the girl who jumped in the river to save some fool cowboy. Jack's eyes crinkled with his smile, but then grew serious. What you did? No one's ever done anything like that for me before. Lily shrugged, embarrassed. Anyone would have helped. No, they wouldn't have, Jack said firmly. Most folks would have called 911 and hoped for the best. You risked your life. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. I wanted to give you something to say thank you. Oh, that's not necessary, Lily started, but Jack cut her off gently. Please. It would mean a lot to me. Hesitantly, Lily accepted the box and opened it. Inside was a delicate silver pendant in the shape of a star. It's beautiful, she whispered. It was my mother's, Jack explained. She always said stars guide us home when we're lost. Seemed fitting. Lily looked up, shocked. I can't take something so personal. Jack's expression was gentle but determined. You saved my life, Lily. There's nothing more personal than that. He paused. I also wanted to ask, would you and your family join me for dinner tomorrow night? There's some things I'd like to talk to you about. Your future plans, maybe. Lily felt confused. Why would this man she barely knew care about her plans? I guess so, I'd have to ask my parents. Of course. Jack handed her a business card. My number's on there. Real number this time, not the hospital's. His eyes twinkled with humor. Lily glanced at the card and froze. It read, Jackson T. Wilson, CEO, Ranch Tech Solutions. Below that was an address in a wealthy part of the city and a phone number. You're not just a cowboy, she said slowly, looking up at him with wide eyes. Jack, or Jackson shrugged, suddenly looking a bit self-conscious. I'm both, I suppose, started out as one, ended up as the other. He tapped his cane again. I'll explain everything tomorrow if you'll come. As he left, tipping an imaginary hat to her, Lily stared after him in confusion. The simple rescue story had just become much more complicated. Who exactly had she pulled from that river? And what did he want with her and her family? Standing in the shelter doorway, watching Jack carefully make his way to a sleek black SUV with a driver waiting, Lily had no idea that her life was about to change completely. That evening, Lily sat at the kitchen table, turning the silver star pendant over in her fingers as she explained to her parents about Jack's visit and dinner invitation. He gave you his mother's necklace? Her mother asked, looking concerned, as she stirred a pot of stew on the stove. The small kitchen was warm and filled with the familiar smells of home cooking, but there was an unusual tension in the air. Lily nodded. And he wants us all to have dinner with him tomorrow night. He said he wants to talk about my future plans. Her father frowned, his weathered hands wrapped around a mug of tea. I looked up Ranch Tech Solutions after you called. They're huge, worth millions. They make all kinds of high-tech equipment for modern ranching. Automated feeding systems, special tracking for livestock, that sort of thing. But why would the CEO care about my college plans? Lily wondered aloud. Her mother turned from the stove, wiping her hands on her apron. Well, you did save his life. We should go, her father decided after a moment. Hear what he has to say. But Lily, his eyes grew serious. We don't want anything from this man. We've always taken care of ourselves. Lily understood her father's pride. The Chen family had worked hard for everything they had, never asking for handouts. Still, she couldn't help wondering what Jack, Mr. Wilson, wanted to talk about. The next evening, the Chen family drove their old pickup truck to the address on the business card. It led them to an upscale restaurant in the city, the kind of place they would never normally visit. Lily felt underdressed in her nicest blue sweater and dark jeans, but Jack greeted them warmly at a private table in the back, standing with the help of his cane. Thank you for coming, he said, shaking hands with Lily's parents. Please call me Jack. Only my board of directors calls me Mr. Wilson, and that's usually when they're unhappy with me. As they settled into their seats, Lily noticed how at ease Jack seemed despite his formal surroundings. He still had that same approachable quality she'd sensed even when he was trapped in the sinking truck. First, I want to say how grateful I am to your daughter, Jack began after they had ordered. The doctors told me I wouldn't have survived, more than another minute or two in that water. Lily's father nodded stiffly. We're proud of her. But Mr. Jack, we're simple people. We don't expect anything for doing what's right. Jack smiled. I respect that. Truly I do. He leaned forward slightly. But I didn't invite you here just to say thank you again. I have a proposition. Lily felt her stomach tighten with nervous anticipation. I understand Lily wants to be a veterinarian, Jack continued, glancing at her with kind eyes. How did you know that? Lily asked, surprised. I did my homework, Jack replied with a slight smile. Found out you work at the shelter, have straight A's in all your science classes, and according to your guidance counselor, you've been focused on veterinary medicine since you were 12. Lily's parents exchanged glances. It was a bit unnerving how much this stranger knew about their daughter. I came from nothing, Jack explained, seeming to sense their discomfort. Grew up on a struggling cattle ranch in West Texas. Couldn't afford college, so I joined the Army instead. After I got out, I started tinkering with ways to make ranching more efficient. 20 years later, that tinkering turned into ranch tech. He paused. But I never forgot what it's like to have dreams just out of reach because of money. The waiter brought their food, momentarily interrupting the conversation. After he left, Jack continued, I want to establish a scholarship fund. Full ride to any university with a pre-veterinary program, followed by veterinary school. For students from rural areas who otherwise couldn't afford it. He looked directly at Lily. And I'd like you to be the first recipient. Lily's fork clattered. Against her plate, her parents sat in stunned silence. That's very generous, her father finally said, his voice careful. But we can't accept such charity. It's not charity, Jack insisted. It's an investment in someone who has already proven her character. And it won't just be for Lily. Each year another student will receive the same opportunity. He smiled. I'm calling it the River Rescue Scholarship. But why? Lily asked, finding her voice. Why me? Why now? Jack's expression grew thoughtful. When you're trapped in a sinking truck watching water rise toward your face, you do some quick thinking about your life. I realized I've spent years building a company, making money, but not doing enough real good in the world. He gestured toward Lily with his good hand. You jumped into that river without a second thought. No personal gain, just helping. That's worth investing in. Lily's mother, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. We need to discuss this as a family. Of course, Jack nodded. Take all the time you need. The offer doesn't expire. As they ate, the conversation shifted to lighter topics. Jack told stories about his early days inventing ranch technology in his garage, making Lily's parents laugh despite their caution. By dessert, the tension had eased considerably. When they were finishing their meal, Jack's phone buzzed. He checked it and frowned slightly. Everything okay? Lily asked. Just business. One of our prototype systems is having issues at a test site. He hesitated, then asked, Would you be interested in seeing what we do? I'm heading to one of our research ranches tomorrow to check on things. It's about an hour from here. Lily looked at her parents questioningly. After a moment, her father nodded. I could pick you up around 9, Jack offered. Might give you a better idea of what ranch tech is all about before you decide on the scholarship. On the drive home, Lily's mind raced with possibilities. Veterinary, school without crushing debt, a chance to see cutting-edge agricultural technology. But her parents remained cautious. It seems too good to be true, her mother said as they pulled into their driveway. People don't just give away that kind of money. He nearly died, Mom, Lily pointed out. That changes people. Her father turned off the engine and sat for a moment in the darkness. We'll go with you tomorrow. See this ranch of his, then we'll talk about scholarships. The next morning, a sleek company SUV pulled up precisely at 9. Jack sat in the passenger seat, his driver opening doors for the Chen family. The hour-long drive took them through familiar countryside that gradually gave way to more open ranch land. When they arrived at a modern-looking compound of buildings surrounded by pastures, Lily was surprised by the mix of traditional ranch elements and high-tech additions. Solar panels lined rooftops and what looked like weather stations dotted the fields. In one pasture, cattle wore small devices around their necks. Welcome to the future of ranching, Jack said as they got out of the vehicle. And possibly, Lily, a small part of your future too. Little did Lily know that this visit would reveal much more than advanced agricultural technology. The day ahead would change her understanding of Jack Wilson and herself in ways she couldn't imagine. The morning sun warmed the sprawling research ranch as Jack led the Chen family toward a large modern barn. Despite his walking cast and cane, he moved with purpose, occasionally stopping to point out features of the property. Those solar panels power almost everything here, he explained, gesturing toward the gleaming black rectangles on several rooftops. And those weather stations help us track microclimates across the ranch. Helps with grazing rotations, water management, all sorts of things. Lily noticed how her father, initially skeptical, was now asking interested questions about the technology. Her mother walked beside them, still quiet but clearly taking everything in. As they approached the barn, a young woman in jeans and a ranch tech polo shirt hurried out to meet them. Mr. Wilson, we weren't expecting you until this afternoon, she said, looking slightly flustered. Change of plans, Abby, Jack replied with an easy smile. These are the Chens, Tom, Grace, and Lily. Folks, this is Abby Torres, one of our best agricultural engineers. Abby shook their hands warmly. Nice to meet you all. Mr. Wilson has told us about your heroic rescue, Lily. That's amazing. Lily felt her cheeks warm. It wasn't really. It absolutely was. Jack interrupted gently. Don't downplay what you did. He turned to Abby. How's our temperamental system doing this morning? Abby's expression shifted to concern. Still glitching. We've got the diagnostic team working on it, but they're stumped. The cattle feeding schedule has been thrown off twice now. Jack nodded. Well, let's have a look. Maybe fresh eyes will help. Inside the barn, Lily was surprised by how clean and high-tech everything appeared. Instead of the dusty, hay-filled space she expected, this looked more like a modern facility with concrete floors, specialized equipment, and computer stations. Several people in similar ranch tech shirts were gathered around a large control panel, looking concerned. This is where we test our newest automated systems before sending them to market, Jack explained. Right now, we're having trouble with our latest cattle feeding technology. Lily's father looked around with interest. What's it supposed to do? It monitors each animal's health through those collar devices you saw outside, Jack explained. Then it creates customized feed mixes based on what each animal needs. Healthier cattle, less waste, better efficiency. What's going wrong? Lily asked, curious despite herself. One of the technicians, a man with glasses perched on his nose, looked up. The system keeps defaulting to the wrong feed mixtures. We've checked the code 3 times but can't find the error. Jack introduced the Chens to the team, then turned to Lily. Want to see how it works? For the next hour, Lily watched as the team demonstrated the system, explained the problem, and tried various solutions. She found herself fascinated by the blend of animal care and technology. This was nothing like the traditional veterinary work she'd imagined, but it still centered on animal health and welfare. While her parents were taken on a tour of another part of the facility, Lily stayed behind, watching the team work. She noticed something odd about the way the system responded when they tested it with different cattle ID numbers. Can I ask a question? She said hesitantly. The technician with glasses, Dave, she'd learned, nodded. Sure. When you enter ID, numbers ending in odd digits, the system works fine. But with even numbers, it glitches. Is that normal? Dave frowned, looking at the data again. You're right. How did we miss that pattern? He turned to Abby. Could be a binary issue in the sorting algorithm. For the next 20 minutes, the team dug deeper into the problem, with Lily occasionally offering observations from her perspective as a complete outsider. Her fresh eyes helped them spot connections they'd overlooked. I think we found it, Dave exclaimed eventually. There's a conflict in how the system rounds weight measurements for different ID groupings. He turned to Lily with genuine appreciation. That was a great catch about the odd and even numbers. Jack, who had been quietly observing from a corner, smiled. Sometimes it takes someone who doesn't know what to look for to see what's actually there. When Lily's parents returned, Jack took them all to lunch in the staff cafeteria, a bright, comfortable space with healthy food options and large windows overlooking the pastures. As they ate, he asked Lily thoughtful questions about her interest in veterinary medicine. So what area would you specialize in, if you could? He asked. Lily considered the question. I've always thought I'd work with small animals, like at the shelter. But after seeing this, she gestured toward the window where cattle grazed in the distance. There's something interesting about using technology to help livestock too. Jack nodded. That's exactly why I started Ranch Tech. My family lost half our herd one year to a disease we didn't catch in time. I thought there had to be a better way to monitor animal health. Is that why your trucks have the slogan, Technology with Heart? Lily asked, remembering the words printed on the vehicles they'd seen. Exactly, Jack replied. Technology is only worthwhile if it helps living things, animals or people. He set down his fork and looked at the Chen family seriously. Which brings me to another reason I wanted you to see this place. He pulled out his tablet and showed them a satellite map of the area. See this land here? About 5 miles from your farm? Ranch Tech just purchased it for a new testing facility. focused specifically on veterinary applications of our technology. He looked directly at Lily. We're going to need student interns who understand both animals and the community. Paid internships, of course. Something that would look pretty good on a veterinary school application. Lily's eyes widened. You want me to? Not right away, Jack clarified. You've got to finish high school first, but next summer, if you're interested, it would give you practical experience while you're in college. Lily's father cleared his throat. That's very thoughtful, but we still haven't decided about the scholarship. Jack's expression grew serious. Tom, I understand your hesitation. I really do. So here's my compromise. Lily applies for colleges like normal. Wherever she gets in, whatever financial aid she receives, Ranch Tech will cover the difference. No strings attached. He paused. The internship is completely separate. She can take it or leave it. Lily's mother spoke up. Why are you really doing this, Mr. Wilson? Is it just because she saved you? Jack considered the question carefully. Partly yes, but it's more than that. He looked at Lily. In my business, I meet people with impressive degrees and credentials all the time. But character, the kind that makes someone jump into a freezing river to save a stranger, that's rare. He smiled slightly. I'm a businessman at heart. I recognize a good investment when I see one. As they drove home that afternoon, Lily sat quietly in the back seat, watching the countryside pass by. The day had shown her possibilities she'd never imagined, new ways to use her love for animals, technology she hadn't known existed, and a potential path to her dreams without the crushing debt that had always loomed in her future. Her parents discussed the visit in low voices in the front seat. They were still cautious, but Lily could tell they were warming to Jack's revised offer. It felt less like charity now and more like opportunity. That night, as Lily got ready for bed, she noticed the silver star pendant Jack had given her, sitting on her dresser. She picked it up, remembering his mother's words about stars guiding people home when they're lost. She didn't feel lost anymore. For the first time, the path ahead seemed clear and possible. What she didn't know was that Jack Wilson had plans even bigger than scholarships and internships. Plans that would change, not just her life but her entire community, in ways she couldn't yet imagine. 3 years later, Lily stood at the edge of a newly constructed building watching as workers installed the sign above the entrance. Riverside Animal Wellness Center. The spring breeze ruffled her hair as she took in the moment, hardly believing how much had changed since that fateful day by the river. She was now a sophomore in college, studying pre-veterinary science at the State University. True to his word, Jack had established the River Rescue Scholarship, which covered her tuition and expenses. But what was happening today went far beyond that initial promise. Nervous? Asked a familiar voice behind her. Lily turned to see Jack approaching, walking without a cane now. The past 3 years had added a few more gray hairs to his temples, but his eyes still held the same kindness she'd seen even when he was trapped in the sinking truck. A little, Lily admitted, looking back at the building. I still can't believe this is happening. The Riverside Animal Wellness Center was Jack's most ambitious project yet, a state-of-the-art veterinary facility that would serve both domestic pets and livestock from the surrounding farms. Built on land at the edge of town, it combined traditional veterinary services with Ranch Tech's latest innovations. And most surprisingly to Lily, it had been her suggestion that sparked the idea. During her first summer internship at Ranch Tech, she had mentioned how farmers in her community often struggled to access affordable veterinary care for their animals. Jack had listened intently, asking questions about what kind of facility might help. What had started as a casual conversation had grown into this impressive reality before her. Your parents here yet? Jack asked, checking his watch. On their way, Lily replied. Dad insisted on finishing the morning chores first. You know how he is. Jack chuckled. Still the hardest working man I know. He paused, growing more serious. You've made him proud, you know. Both your parents. I hope so, Lily said softly. The past 3 years hadn't been without challenges. Some people in town had whispered about the Millionaire's pet project when construction began. Others suggested Lily had somehow manipulated Jack after the accident. But over time, as Jack became a familiar face in the community, and more local people were hired to work at both the center and the nearby Ranch Tech facility, the whispers had faded. "There they are," Jack said, nodding toward the parking lot where Lily's parents were pulling up in their truck, a newer model now but still modest. Her mother waved as they parked. More cars were arriving for the grand opening ceremony. Local farmers, town officials, veterinary professionals who would staff the center, and even some of Lily's professors from the university. Jack had insisted on making this a community event. As people gathered in front of the building, Lily noticed Scout sitting patiently by her father's side. The border collie was older now but still alert and loyal. Seeing him always reminded Lily of that day by the river. If Scout hadn't alerted her to the crash, everything might have turned out differently. Mayor Rivera stepped forward to start the ceremony, thanking Jack and Ranch Tech for their investment in the community. As she spoke about job creation and improved animal care, Lily found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought them all here. After the Chen family had accepted Jack's scholarship offer, he had become a regular visitor to their farm, often bringing new agricultural technologies for them to test. What started as a business relationship had gradually evolved into friendship. Jack began joining them for Sunday dinners, sharing stories about his own farming childhood, and eventually becoming something like family. When it was Jack's turn to speak at the microphone, he kept his remarks brief, focusing on the community's needs and how the center would address them. Then, to Lily's surprise, he called her forward. "The real visionary behind this project isn't me," Jack said, handing her the microphone. "This young woman not only saved my life but opened my eyes to what this community truly needed." Lily hadn't prepared anything to say. Standing before the crowd, she felt a moment of panic before taking a deep breath. 3 years ago, I jumped into the river because someone needed help. That's all it was, seeing a need and responding. This center is just a bigger version of the same idea." She gestured to the building behind her. "We all need help sometimes, people and animals alike. This place is about making sure that help is available to everyone, not just those who can afford it." The crowd applauded as Jack stepped forward with a large pair of ceremonial scissors. Together, he and Lily cut the ribbon stretched across the entrance. As people began to file inside for tours, Jack pulled Lily aside. "There's something else I wanted to tell you today," he said quietly. "The board approved the residency program." Lily's eyes widened. The veterinary residency program had been discussed as a future possibility, a way for new veterinary school graduates to gain hands-on experience at the center while serving the community. But it wasn't supposed to happen for years. "That's wonderful," she said. "When will it start?" "In 3 years," Jack replied with a knowing smile. "Just in time for a certain veterinary student I know to apply, if she's interested." Lily felt a surge of emotion. The path that had once seemed impossibly difficult, veterinary school, gaining experience, returning to help her community, now stretched before her, challenging but achievable. Inside the center, Lily's parents were admiring the main reception area with its warm, welcoming design. Her mother brushed away a tear when she saw the Wall of Honor, a display recognizing local students who had received river rescue scholarships. Lily's photo was first, but beside it were 2 others, local young people who were now following their own dreams thanks to Jack's program. "Did you ever imagine all this would happen?" her father asked, his voice rough with emotion as he gestured around the center. "And to think I almost turned down his offer." "You were protecting me," Lily said, squeezing his hand. "You always have." Later, as the celebration continued, Lily found herself standing outside again, looking at the river visible in the distance. The same river that had nearly claimed Jack's life was now just a peaceful part of the landscape. "Penny, for your thoughts," Jack said, joining her. "I was just thinking about how one moment can change everything," Lily replied. "If I'd taken a different path that day, if Scout hadn't heard the crash," Jack nodded. "Life hinges on those moments. But it's what we do after them that matters most." He looked toward the center where people were still exploring, talking excitedly about the services it would provide. "You didn't just save me that day, Lily. You showed me a better way to use what I have," As they walked back to join the others, Lily touched the silver star pendant she still wore. Some might call what happened luck or coincidence, a random accident that connected two unlikely people. But Lily preferred to think of it as something more meaningful, a reminder that sometimes the bravest moment of your life could also be the one that opens doors you never knew existed. And as Scout bounded over to greet her, tail wagging with the same enthusiasm he'd shown on their walks 3 years ago, Lily knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, she would face them with the same courage that had sent her into the river that day, not because she was special, but because helping others was simply the right thing to do.